And we're back. Sorry about that, folks. That's the first time that's happened in nearly 3 years of doing the morning briefing, taken off air. There was some technical difficulties, some gremlins in the system. And as Scott McCulloch says, Control Alt Delete. We've switched it on and we've switched it back on again, and we are back. Right, Chris, are we all hunky dory? Your end?
We're good to go. We're just testing the viewers this morning to see how loyal they are, to see if they keep coming back. So hopefully the viewing figures have not been interrupted by my technical faux pas this morning. So the laptop was I put the automatic update off all day yesterday. I was filing actually a big piece for tomorrow. So I put the automatic update off all day yesterday, and then just left it. I've come in. Back in the office first thing this morning. It's booted back up and it's taking its time. So I thought I can't be late, because I know people are very strict on our timekeeping. So I tried to do it on my phone. The phone's had an issue, but here we are. We're good to go. I'll be pressing no more buttons. I'm just going to sit in my hands and talk Rangers for the next half an hour.
That's the safest bet. Right. Let's get stuck in then. You'll find on the website this morning, folks, cracking article that Joshua has done. He's spoken to Fabio Silva's former coach at PSV Eindhoven, Javier Rabadal Hernandez, brilliant name. He's speaking about how he was used over there at PSV. Interestingly, he says it's about connection. Fabio's not a number 9 who creates a chance from nothing. At PSV, it was Xavi Simons who provided that. Fabio needs someone who has a good connection with him to provide passes and combined around the penalty box. And he went on some interesting points. He went on to say about his favourite position. He went on to explain where he was best used at PSV. He says it's about connection. The connection is what gives the superiority. Fabio is more able to make it into the last 16 metres and convert a goal. If this is the case, he can be effective in transition, but the ball has to come from someone else in this second third of the field, or around the last 16 metres. Fabio needs teammates to do this, like his connection with Xavi Simons. From there, he can play 1 or 2 touch. That is Fabio at his best. That is the football he enjoys the most in training. A socio-affective connection is vital. So he's looking for that better connection, I guess. He also went on to say that he's sort of that number 9, no, he's not an out-and-out number 9, but he does like that freedom to occupy that sort of central area and move around, drift around and all that sort of thing. He has been played out on the left of late, Chris. It's maybe a case of, we've seen recently with Sam Lammers giving an interview where he was saying he wasn't played in his natural position. Could the same be happening here with Fabio Silva, perhaps?
I thought there was a really interesting insight there. I think there's been so much debate about Silva and where is he best, where's his best position, where's his natural position, where is he most effective. I think the interview that he gave to Josh and the guys when they're out in La Manga, that really hardened a lot of views where he said, I'm not really a number 9. And there's so much talk during January about Rangers need a number 9. And by that, they meant Rangers need someone who's going to score 10, 12 goals between now and the end of the season. Silva is not going to get to that level, unfortunately. I think there's clear talent there. He's clearly a very technical player. He's a good player. It'd be wrong to say that someone who's gone for that fee, who has played for the clubs that he's played for, it'd be wrong to say that he's not a good player. Is he the most effective player in this Rangers side right now? Probably not. And if you think that so much talk about the other end of the pitch in terms of playing players that are in form, and that's why Connor Goldson has then seen his position come under threat, the same conversation has to be had with Fabio Silva. If you have Sima available on that left-hand side, to me, he's a better option. Yep. And through the middle, Dessers is the man that got the 2 goals last week, and who still looks, despite all these failings, despite all that's been said about him, still looks right now the most likely player to score goals. Silva obviously came off the bench last week, had that chance that we'll gloss over. We'll be fair to him that he didn't quite judge it right. But I think he's quite a frustrating player, because we know and we've seen that there's good moments in there. Benfica away was really good. Josh mentioned in that piece the goal he scored at Easter Road, and at that time you're thinking, no, this wide left place, trying to then come in and be a secondary striker, that could be the best way to get the best out of Fabio Silva. Overall, the last couple of weeks, it's just not quite happened. Didn't think he was effective in the Old Firm game. Since then, Rangers as a whole have been largely ineffective. I don't think Silva has risen above the levels that Rangers have dropped to. And for me, if you're picking a team for Sunday, he's not guaranteed a spot. Which, when you think back to January, there were a lot of hype. A lot of people were pleased to see him coming in. A lot of talk about the transfer fee to Wolves. A guy of his talent, of his pedigree, at this stage of the season, you're looking for him to be one of your game changers, to be one of your match winners. For me right now, he's not even guaranteed a place on the side.
Yeah, can't disagree with any of that. I just wonder if maybe we're just shoehorning over in that left-hand side. I don't think he deserves to start. I was thinking about this last night, who starts against St Mirren on Sunday. I don't think he deserves a starting berth. And we'll get on to who we think should be starting in Paisley on Sunday shortly. Lots of comments coming in. Let's get to a few of them. Stephen Gillespie on the Silva says, if Sima is not fit, I'd try Silva on the right from the bench with Sterling or McCausland to start. So that's what he thinks on the situation. But I'll just go and check that piece out, folks. It's a cracking read and a good insight into Fabio Silva and how he got on over there in Holland last season. Let's get to a few points that are coming in. A few interesting ones. Firstly, Scott Mackay says, morning, Derek, can get a shout out for the Rangers Journal charity stream on the 3rd of May. Kai's doing a marathon for Rangers Charity Foundation. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. And Alistair Wilkie is gifted 5 Rangers Review memberships. That brilliant generosity there, Alistair. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you to donate those 5 memberships. So, hats off to you, sir. What you get for your membership, folks, for those that are Rangers Review extra members, 3 to 5 extra videos per week. I've done a few this week already. There was a Q&A with myself and Adam Thornton yesterday, which was well received as ever. You delivered with your brilliant questions as always. Right, interesting point coming in here that I just flagged that I thought was worthy of note. Where is it now? It's Denzel raised a point on Cortez. He says, how far away is Cortez? We were told by the manager a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was. I think you asked him, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, about Oscar and Danilo when we'll see them. And he did say they'll be back for the last week of the season. And that would mean if Rangers progress to the Scottish Cup final. So he will make an assessment if both of them are back in contention. It would be a huge ask, I think, heading into that game, given the fact that they've not played for several months, that they would come in and feature against Celtic. Stranger things have happened, of course, but might just give the squad a bit of a boost, having those 2 guys back in the frame ahead of that huge game, Chris.
I think it's really, really unlikely. I can't remember ahead of what game it was. It was definitely a pre-match presser a couple of weeks ago that asked the manager about Cortez and Danilo. It may well have been. And he didn't rule it out, but didn't really say enough to rule it in completely. He said no, it's going to be towards the last game. If you've not played for as long, certainly in Danilo's case, having spent several months out by that stage, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to come in and feature. It's real desperation stuff at that stage. You don't really want to be pitching guys who have not played for that long into an Old Firm Scottish Cup final, potentially a treble on the line. I would be amazed. I think there's many, many other permutations that the manager would look at before he even considered it. And I think those 2 have been a huge blow. And those, I think Cortez in particular, and Danilo at an impact, feed into the Silva question, because it's been there so long after Silva came in. It was either Silva or Dessers. He had to be really careful about how you use both of them. So Sima wasn't back available yet. That forward line, certainly the wide positions and the number 9 are so crucial to Rangers. But the manager really had to mix and match his team selections. We saw like Scott Wright coming in. Obviously, Matondo has come back, featured and done okay in spells. Old Firm games have obviously been the highlight for him. I think if Cortez had been available and you have Sima available, that gives you back to the early days of Clement. It's two wide men, it's two pacey direct options on the flanks, then trying to feed your number 9. That's been the Clement style. We had a piece on the website that I did maybe 3-4 months ago, speaking to a couple of guys who had played number 9 under him, and they both said that's what Clement looks for. If you're a number 9, you know you're going to get service from the wide areas, from pacey wide guys. Rangers for a long time haven't had those options. Wright's been in and out, Cosland in and out, Matondo has his problems, Sterling's filled in there but is not quite in the same mould. So I think if Cortez had been available and Sima had been available, we would then have seen settled options in those wide areas, and that then changes in the number 9 position. As it is, Silva had to fill in, and it's all been a bit mix and match. It's not been easy for the manager. So I think all of them are almost a victim of the circumstances, a victim of the injury curse. Going forward, it's going to be the same options. I don't see Cortez and Danilo featuring at all over these next half a dozen games. Too big a risk. As far as we know, both of them not quite at that level yet. So the players that the manager has got are the players that the manager's going to have to use. And interesting to see how he does that. And does he go back to two more natural wide options? Have Sima off the left, we've seen him being so effective. Right hand side, is it then Sterling goes back in there and fills in? Does McCausland try and get a chance to come to prominence again? Are you looking at Matondo playing slightly out of position? Are you giving Scott Wright another chance? I would doubt it. So there's definitely there's options there, but I don't think there's a perfect solution for Rangers right now.
Yeah, asked Johnny this earlier on in the week, Chris, about Cortez, if an opportunity was to arise that, say, for example, we don't see him again this season, are you taking him next season, whether a permanent deal, or would you take him on another sort of season-long loan if that was available?
I think it's quite a strange one, because if he hadn't signed for Rangers in January and we'd never seen him, and a lot of people had, myself included, had never even heard of him, and you then go and sign him in the summer, you would think that's great. He's a pacey wide man. He's got talent. He's done this in Colombia. There's definitely something there. That's a really good signing. Because we've seen him for 6 or 7 games, people now have opinions on him, and I think he's either going to be good enough, or people have written him off and say, no, there's not enough there. So I think a lot of that comes down to the Sima situation. Rangers will have to strengthen in the wide areas. There's going to be a big turnover again in terms of the squad. You would imagine Sima is going to cost in the region of what, £6-7 million or so. Brighton are going to look for a lot of their investment in him back if they're happy to sell him. Cortez, I think, is the more likely of the two to sign another loan deal just because of his contract situation. Leo may well want to cash in. They may want to get their money back and say, look, we'll sell. Will Rangers have the budget to go and spend double-digit millions on two right guys? If they do, fair play, great. And then we're really interested to see what else they can go and do in the market. But I think that one of them will have to sign permanently. One of them will have to be a loan. And from what we've seen so far, you would say that Sima, even though he will cost more, you would say that Sima is the more likely. There's going to be more clamour for him to sign on a permanent deal for Rangers to go and spend the fee on him.
Yeah, I like the look at Cortez, as does Robert. Says yes to Cortez, he looked different, gravy. He's the sort of player you'd pay money to go and watch football. That's why I quite like him. I know it's a short sample size, but again, it's the injury situation, isn't it? But he's a young lad. I like the fact that Philip Clement said he has worked well with Colombians in the past also, and want to keep an eye on. Let's get to some other points that we've been coming in here. James Skeen with one. I'm sure we'll get a bit of an update, as we always do in recent press conferences, on this guy. He says, will Yilmaz be back? Now, we did believe that he would be back for the Old Firm game. Now, a couple of weeks on, and he's still not returned. Gordon Bond with a point here. He says, how come if we have a player that gets a skelf, he is out for months, i.e. Ridvan, when they get players who are out for the rest of the season, they come back in a couple of weeks, McGregor and Maeda being examples. That is the $1 million question, Chris. Always seems to be the most severe injuries that Rangers players have suffered of late. We know that Ridvan suffered, I think it was under Gio, he got the worst ever hamstring injury you can get, and he was out for several months. And this seems a strange one as well. It was sort of his groin thigh sort of region when he picked up an international duty. We were told it would be sort of a short-term thing. He's still out. We were told last week he was training on his own. It remains to be seen if he comes back for St Mirren, but it's Rangers have missed him. There's no doubt about it. I'm not entirely sure we're going to see him this weekend, but questions have been raised by supporters at why we're not seeing this guy.
For me, this is still the big Ridvan question. I think we've all been impressed with his form, certainly under the manager since he came in. He looked like nailed down in that left back spot. He offered Rangers something different. He offered Rangers an improvement in that area. But the question, there's a lot of talk about him also during the January window, and my fear has always been: is he robust enough? Is he James Tavernier? You look at the right hand side, and you just know every day Tav turns up, trains every match day. He plays. He gets through the minutes. You don't have to manage his minutes. You don't have to dip him out. You don't have to be careful with him. You just know he'll be there. And Rangers need more players like that. The squad in general has to become more robust and more reliable. And for all, Ridvan clearly has qualities and has come onto a game, and the manager's spoken about how he's happier and he's more settled. For me, that fitness issue still keeps coming back. We know he spent a long time out, as he said there, that injury picked up during Gio's time. This one shouldn't have been this long. You think back to the initial diagnosis that the manager gave; it was days rather than weeks. Mm-hmm. And we're now hurtling towards the end of the season. Yeah. We need him back because his absence causes issues in other areas. Now, there's been a lot of discussion over Barisic. It's clear that he's now on his way out come the end of the season. If Yilmaz had been there, that then frees up Dujon Sterling, which changes the look in the midfield. If Sterling's in the middle of the park, I think the performances at Ross County and Dundee are better. Results maybe even better as well. So Yilmaz not being available and has then forced Sterling to shift into left back, which is then impacted on the middle of the pitch and impacts Rangers overall. So yes, Ridvan he's a good player. There's a lot to like, but going into next season, you have to be as sure can be that you're going to get 40 games out of him, because if you're not and you're then having to bring someone else in and having to change that position again, I say that's then causing issues for me, and he then becomes, as much as he's a good player, it becomes too big a risk, and you think, well, do we just take our money? There will be interest in Turkey once again come the summer. Do you just take the money, you reinvest it, you go and sign someone who's more robust, and you go and sign a left-sided James Tavernier, not in terms of the goals and the assists, but someone who can just churn out the games in that way, and that then gives you two full-backs who you know you can build a defence around. You know who your number one goalkeeper is going to be. Hopefully Jack Butland, but if not, it'll be someone else. There will be a first choice. We've spoke a bit about strength in the centre half position, and you then start to build the team from the back. The team needs strength and the team needs bolstered. But I think that left back position right now it's so key to all of it. And Ridvan for me, it's just, yes, I like him. Yes, he's in good form, but is he there often enough? And the answer obviously is no right now.
Rangers may need two left backs in the summer. Of course, Borna leaving as well. David Easton with the point here. He says captain of the B team is a left back. Yeah, Robbie Fraser is, but he's not been getting a look in the senior squad. I think a big decision will have to be made on his future in the summertime. He's at an age now where he has to be playing regular football or featuring more. At least it's no use him sitting in the B team that play ad hoc games every now and again. A decision will have to be made on him. Adam Devine, of course, is out on loan at Motherwell. I think he's doing pretty well over there at Fir Park. I think a decision will be made on his future as well as others. I think summer of upheaval is on the horizon. Right, let's get to Sunday then. Of course, we will speak to the manager a little later on. Around about 1:45, we'll hear from, and Chris will be at the Rangers Training Centre. We'll have all the usual coverage from that, usual fallout, folks. So keep your eyes peeled on the YouTube channel and the likes. If, for example, Ridvan's not fit and Abdallah Sima doesn't make it, Chris, in terms of the team, I think the manager may just keep the same backline that started against Hearts. I think he keeps the same midfield duo. The only change I could potentially see would be, well, Sima coming out, McCausland going in over on that right-hand side. But Tondo's an interesting one. I didn't think he had the best of games against Hearts last weekend. He's more of an impact sub, I think. Let us know in the comments what you feel about that, folks. But I just feel that you get more out of him when you bring him off the bench as the game wears on. But the other option is, of course, Fabio Silva. Or do you move, as a comment comes in here from Maka, says, can McCausland play off the left? He always cuts inside. That would allow him to get a few shots away. Does he come on and start on the left? Then who starts on the right? So there's a few decisions for the manager to make ahead of this game.
That 2 minutes there, Derek, has summed up why the manager's paid the big bucks. These are his calls to make. So many selection problems earlier on in the season because he barely had enough players to put aside and put a bench out. Now that the squad has improved, players have come back. Fitness is better generally across the board. There's decisions to be made, but in a different sense. I think people will be disappointed if Leon Balogun doesn't start, given his performance against Hearts and the way that he came back in and looked so accomplished. So there will be a real disappointment, I think, if he doesn't make it. Left back, like you, I would stick. I wouldn't be surprised if the team is very, very similar actually to what we saw last weekend. I don't think, like Silva came off the bench, I don't think they're enough to earn it. Matondo, as you say there, is a difficult one because you see the impact he can have in the Old Firm game. You see the goal. We know he's been working on it. He tried one.
He's trying to do it every game now, though, Chris, isn't he?
Tried one last weekend. I think it was closer to the corner flag than it was the top corner, unfortunately. But he's a difficult one to judge because, as I outlined earlier on, I think the team looks more dangerous. The team looks better when it has those two natural wingers in it. But the one that you really want is sitting in the stand because it's Oscar Cortez. So Matondo, I think, is probably, again, as a number of the comments say, is this impact sub tag that he's got. And it's hard to work your way away from that. If people think that you shouldn't be starting games, when you do start games, you have to make the most of it. I thought last weekend never really got into it. Had a couple of nice moments, a couple of nice runs, but didn't really cause Hearts the problems that we thought it would do. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a change in that position. Apart from that, I think it's a number of them are nailed down. Butland, obviously, Tav, obviously. The midfield too, I thought was really good last week. If Yilmaz is available and comes in at left back, that then raises the Sterling question. Does he then come in alongside John Lundstrom, which would be harsh on Diomande because I thought he was really impressive against Hearts. So nice problems to have. I've not settled on my team yet. Once we're off the video, I'll do it and I'll send you it before I head up to the press conference. But there are decisions to make, and obviously the manager's injury update will shape that later on.
Yeah, I get absolute pelters last weekend for suggesting Robbie Fraser should start at left back, but I would like to see Dujon Sterling play in that midfield role. I think he offers Rangers a lot in there. But you and me both agree that Leon Balogun starts this game. I know that Joshua and Johnny feel that Connor Goldson should come back in for John Souttar. I can understand the reasoning behind that, given that the Goldson-Balogun partnership is generally a good one, and also the fact that John Souttar looked a tad ropey at times at Hampden on Sunday. But I said it in many videos before now, Chris, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think just keep it as it is, unless something happens in training or what have you. But the manager did say last week the reason Goldson was omitted was because of tiredness, and he needs a bit of freshness in the back line. That won't wash this week, though, if he's dropped.
No, if you put it down to freshness, once he's then had a rest, he should then be fresh enough to come back in. If him dropping out of the side was down to form, then you have to say, well, on form, Balogun deserves to keep it. The conversation will then turn to John Souttar. I think Souttar has had an okay season. He's not been terrible, not been outstanding. I think it's 6, 7 out of 10 stuff for him overall. Pleased that he's managed to put together the number of games that he has. Pleased that he's put together the number of minutes that he has, because that's always been one of the things that's nagging in the back of your mind with John Souttar. Or can he be? We spoke about robustness earlier on in terms of Yilmaz. Can Souttar do that over the course of a season with European games, domestic games? So it's pleased that he has been. But you talk about the big decisions the manager has to make. That centre half is arguably the biggest one, because if Goldson doesn't play today, then you can't put it down to, or it doesn't play on Sunday, sorry, you can't put it down to freshness anymore. It then has to be down to form. I think on form, there's a lot of comments. I saw a lot of chat about Goldson's place over the last couple of weeks. On form, wasn't near it. Last couple of games, nowhere near good enough. I think he deserved to miss out on Sunday. But as you say, if it's a freshness issue, he should be fresh by now. So really interested to see what the manager does at that in that centre half berth on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, but never had you on yesterday, Chris. But of course, we spoke about the reports from Saudi Arabia that Steven Gerrard was perhaps planning a move to entice Goldson and Tavernier to Al Ettifaq in the summer. What do you make of that? I think we've discussed before. I think time might have come for a parting of the ways between Connor Goldson and Rangers. Tavernier, I've got to say, I think I would like him to stay on. I think Rangers will be hard pressed to find someone that will produce the same level of numbers as he does. Adam said something very interesting yesterday on the members' show, that Rangers over-reliant on him, and perhaps taking him out the firing line, it might give more balance to the team. Players not looking to Tav to make something happen. But what do you make of those reports? Of course, the Tavernier one, it's nothing new. We've heard murmurings over the last wee while that there is Saudi interest in him. But do you think, can you see both of them going in the summer?
If they do, then hopefully Rangers are well recompensed for it, and there's some big transfer fees, because there's going to be a lot of transfer rumours over the course of the summer. Rangers will need to spend money, and in terms of sellable assets, you're looking at Butland and Yilmaz. Tav and Goldson don't immediately jump out as sellable assets if they're going to England, for example. If they're going to Saudi, then you can name your price and you can add a wee bit on top, because that's just the market out there. I think Tav would be harder to replace than Connor Goldson. I would think if the manager and Niels Coppin are given a decent budget, they could go out and get someone who is younger, quicker, stronger than Connor Goldson. That's no disrespect to him, because he has been a hugely important servant for Rangers, been a great player for Rangers over the course of his career. But time catches up with everyone. I think at that stage, unfortunately, he's only going to decline, and it's when do Rangers decide, right, he's declined to a level where we don't want him in the team, we don't want him in the squad. Could you probably get another season out of him? I think so. As a first choice nailed on starter, for me, probably not. As a member of the Rangers squad, I think yes. Tav, I think, will be more difficult to try and replace for the influence, for the goals, for the assists. I think that comment that you mentioned there from Adam, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I've seen Rangers, when they do struggle, it's a case of, well, we need someone to stand up, and 9 times out of 10, you're looking at the right back saying, Tav, go and do something, go and stick a free kick in the top corner, or go and produce a moment of magic from somewhere. And at some point, he's not going to be able to do that as often, because again, time will catch up. He won't be as dynamic, and he won't be able to do the same things that he's done for so long. I don't think he's at the end of his road. I think you could easily get another season, at least, probably another 2, maybe even 3 out of Tav. but you then have to think, well, what does the future look like after James Tavernier? At some point, he is going to have to be replaced. Rangers will have to perhaps change its style. Who's going to be that successor? Is it going to be Dujon Sterling, or do we see him as a midfielder? Are we then looking at trying to find someone else? So I don't think we're at the stage of we have to cut all ties with them and say it's the end of the road, but we will see their influence gradually tail off and diminish over the course of the next season, definitely the next two. So big decisions to be made there. If you're going to sell your captain and your vice captain in the same summer, you have to be sure of the guys that you're bringing in. They have to be instant starters. There have to be upgrades on them. I would be surprised if Tav leaves, given how close he is to a testimonial. I wouldn't think the timing would be right, but when there's money on the table and these huge offers, as we know from Saudi, are going to be there, I think for Rangers and for the players, it will be something they might have to think about. So they don't jump out as two guys who you have to get rid of, but decisions will need to be made on them at some stage over the next 12 months for me.
Yeah, good to have Philip Clement texting in as well. He's on TikTok, folks, there. He says it was a great new right back in Young Sterling. He's a tremendous replacement for Tav. I agree, Phil, but please play him in midfield on Sunday if you can. Ross with the point here. The problem is Derek cannot keep relying on a right back to get his goals. He takes every free kick, corner, throw-in, etc. We need to move away from relying on one person in the team for that. And Joe Connolly says 20 million for the two. Yeah, that gets you around the table, and we can have a discussion. Right, let's wrap up. First of all, I noticed this. James Strachan got in touch. He watches from down under. He says, hello, Derek, Chris, and all the Bears. I have great news. Addie, my 3-year-old granddaughter, is now in remission after her chemo treatments. Still needs blood tests each month and CT scans every 3 months. That is great news, James. Thank you for updating us all that, and all the best, Addie, in your recovery. And I noticed this morning as well. Hugo Bear says 20,000 subscriptions. Yeah, absolutely. Notice we hit the magical 20,000 subscriber mark this morning. So thank you, folks, for all your support since we launched this channel almost 3 years ago now. It's much appreciated, and love the interaction every single morning and all the videos that we do. So thank you. Right, what's coming your way a little bit later on, as we touched on, it is press conference day. We'll hear from the manager and whatever player Rangers put up for the press, so that will come your way around just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. Then me and Chris will be on for the Rangers Review Extra members for press conference reaction video. Over the weekend, we'll have all the usual coverage from the Smysa Stadium, it's called now, isn't it, over there at St Mirren, New St Mirren Park for guys like me and you, Chris. But there you go. We'll have all the coverage from Rangers at St Mirren. As Chris touched on earlier, we'll have a predicted lineups hitting the website a little bit later on as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Just a reminder as well, remember, those two offers on the website ends on Monday. You can take advantage of a 6-month subscription for just £1 or £18 for an entire year, and you get entered into that draw for a signed Rangers jersey signed by Gaza and McCoist. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Right, folks, that'll do us for now. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.